There's so many ways for you to show up online, profit, and make an impact with your business. That's what the Heart-Centered Business Success Show is all about. Inspiring you with stories of generous women and equipping you with real strategies to help your business succeed, because I know you've got a powerful gift to share. Thanks for tuning into the show. Okay, I'm here with Elisha Halpin, who is a mentor for women. She helps them connect their mind, body, and soul to their heart. And I can say from knowing you, it's true. And I know this sounds crazy, but every time we connect, I do feel like you are so grounded in this work, and it's just who you are. And anyone who's seen you on live stream in your group knows that this is just who you are so authentically. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. So great to talk to you.
So why don't you, for someone who's never met you before, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So I, in my regular life, I'm a dancer, choreographer, and educator. And so I've taken all of that information and knowledge and have moved into really coaching and mentoring for women. Mm-hmm. There was a couple of years ago that I said, I love working with women. And as a dancer, my world is mainly encompassed with women. So 95% of my students are always women. And I just said, I want to talk to them past that age of 22 and continue the work that I get to do with them in college. And so I began looking at life coaching and things like that, and really fell into wanting to create work that allows women to look at the whole of themselves. It felt like there's these ways where we get piecemealed out as our labels of mother, wife, daughter, worker, all of these things. But then even larger than that, the way that we don't have a framework so much in our modern day society to bring our spirit and our soul into conversation with our secular work, and with the aspects that we're supposed to turn off and on our spirit work, or our connection to our higher self and the spirit world. And so I really wanted to find a way of being able to bridge those conversations. And so I really see my work as the bridge. I go from one side of the bridge to the other with women as we begin to connect the inner and outer worlds, connect our heart to our other aspects of life, and not feel like we have to keep things in little boxes. Yeah.
So good. So much of why I love your work too is because I feel like it's so grounded, but it's also really practical, right? Like you have a way of making it really approachable, and kind of this, like, you straddle this line of, this world of woo, but also this, like, women that are driven and type A, and you yourself are very driven. So how do you do that?
Yes, I actually think exactly that. So everything in my life, as I look back to exactly like the parents that I was born to and the way that I've always lived, has been about being a bridge. And so I've got one foot in the woo world, and I'm totally woo. And then I'm also a type A research professor at an arts-based, in an arts-based program, and super, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I absolutely have strong ambitions. And so, yeah, I think that I really have the gifts and the interest that I have, because what I'm meant to do is help be the bridge. So I call myself, the woo mentor for the everyday woman. Like, you don't have to be woo to get the woo that's going to really infuse your life with the type of energy work and just basic rituals that will connect you deeper to living more fully and really creatively. Like, I think so much about my work is really bringing that creative process into our daily lives. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, all the questions. So 2 questions that came to mind as you said that. The first one was, how do you do that? How do you, on a practical level, if someone's watching this and they were like, integrate the creative process in my daily life? Mind blown. Like, I've never done that. Like, what would you say is your first tip for someone who's interested in bringing that more creative energy into their daily life?
I think it's permission to be creative and to see yourself as a creator. So I think that we all are artists in the idea that we create. Yeah. And some of us create babies and lives with those babies. And some of us create amazing meals. Some of us create, the most well-designed homes. And some of us create dances. Some of us create poems. We are all creating, and we all have multiple ways that we create. Often, again, the way we segment and kind of say, well, that's just that part of me. You know, yes, I could go make an amazing hat in my knitting class, but I'm not really a creator. I'm not really an artist. And I think that when we can give the permission to bring that same energy that allows you to be a knitter or a writer in this little secret part of your life into the full frontal part of your life, then we let that energy of our creation begin to drive the bus. And what we're doing is we're connecting to our own life force. We're connecting to our own energy that keeps us moving. So the idea that I could cook meals for my family from this creative place just means that I'm connecting it to my life force energy, and it's not separate, it's not outside, it's not hard. I don't have to get depleted thinking about meal creations. I think about it as part of who I am as a creator, and that can be peanut butter and jelly, or it can be something really awesome. But that if I remind myself that I'm creating constantly, creating every moment of my day, and I get to create it how I want it to be. I don't have to wait for someone else to give me permission. I don't have to sit back and think that, well, this is the deck of cards that I was handed, so I better learn. I get to choose which deck of cards I want to pick up every day.
Powerful and so empowering. As you were saying that too, I think if anyone's listening to this and is like a multi-passionate person, I know I'm a multi-passionate person and struggled, especially at the start in my business, at picking like, what way do I monetize who I am, right? Like that's just so intimidating, A. And B, for me, felt like I don't want to like limit who I am, right? Like I don't want to like be fake and inauthentic by just marketing one thing, you know, and all like what you said though about the creativity, I think relates to that, because what I heard you say is like, we are creative, right? Like we are creating. And I think that's the theme when I think in my life, in my day jobs that I've loved the most, in my business ventures that I've loved the most, the thread has been, I'm feeling most alive when I'm creating whatever the heck it is, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I really firmly believe that, you know, the part of ourselves that's so divine is a creator, right? And so we really did come to create. And we just look around the world at everything that's been created. Somebody created that. Somebody created a chair, and thank you. And we get to have that same permission in our own lives. And that's from the small scale to the big scale. I also think it's really, I love what you said about like the going into your business, because we do think that it has to be about the thing that's externally in front. And for me, really coming from the place of energy first means it's really around my essence can land externally in the world in a lot of different ways, but it's still me. It's still coming from this place. And, you know, you absolutely, we've had these same conversations around me in terms of like, where am I going to focus in my business? And I think that it really was getting to the permission of, it doesn't matter what the external look of it is, it's still me and it's deeply connected. And I get to bring all of my energy to that. Yeah.
Yes. And I feel like, which makes it even more like, it makes me feel even less shameless about marketing, right? Because it's like, it doesn't matter what the thing is, you know what I mean? The work that I do, I can trust, and it's going to be filled with integrity, and I'm going to deliver, period. Right. And so it's like, and that's why I'm so passionate, you know, about like helping heart center entrepreneurs with the sales and marketing, because it's like, on the other side of it, I trust that whatever you're selling, Elisha, it's just epic. Like, I just know that when a woman works with you, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's in a group, whether it's just watching a recording of you, I know that their life is going to be transformed. So it's like the marketing is just getting them there.
Yeah. And you're totally hitting on my heart-centered problem, and what we've worked so much on, right? And for me, it was really understanding that it's actually selfish. I have a gift, and if I'm not sharing it, I'm actually taking my light and hiding it under the bush, you know, and that's so not what our lights are for. And really understanding that what's mine to do is to figure out how my clients, how my students, how the people that I want to work with can plug into the work.
Yeah.
And then to create the work. And then it sells itself. I don't have to, you know, and I've tried a lot of different structures, and I continue to try them, right? So what are the ways that I want them to plug in? And that's really where my inquiry is around. Like, what are the ways that I want to allow women to come into the door, and how am I going to meet them there? And that's great because it doesn't feel like I'm selling. It doesn't feel like marketing. It feels like creation. It feels like I'm creating the door that we get to walk through together. And so that feels really much better than sitting down making a marketing plan for me. And there's definitely aspects of being in business that as I go deeper into this, I realize I'm ready to hand this off. I'm ready to build a team that takes care of X, Y, and Z, because that's not my zone of genius. But I've done it in a way that I understand now where my zone of genius is. And also I'm coming from this place of empowerment and not shoving the things that I don't want to do at somebody else with, and basically handing them my power and saying, can you fix this for me? I've gone through the whole process now of being able to say like, okay, well, I know what's mine to do and I know what I do really well, and I'm ready to shine in that way and let go of the things that are maybe not mine and find somebody else whose light is like so on point with marketing that I'm like, let's collaborate and let's bring our creative energies together. So I think that's part of it when you really start to bring your own creative energy and really own your creative genius, you get to say, okay, that is actually not my creative genius. And so I need to do that for X number of months until I'm ready to find another creative genius to partner with in this way. And that's what I love about your group too, the way people make those genius connections and, are able to collaborate with each other. It's a perfect place it's like the perfect little meeting ground with your green teas, right?
Yeah, yes.
I'm drinking coffee today.
It's okay. I won't hold it against you. I actually was drinking green tea, but I left it in the kitchen. I love too what you said about even like when we are at the point where we're ready to outsource, not giving away our power. Because I know for me, in the times when I've been in like a scarcity mindset, I outsource and I'm giving away my power to like, oh, maybe this is the magic pill. Oh, maybe I'll hire that person and won't have to think about that project and they'll just do it for me and hand it back and all my business problems will be fixed.
And that always goes so well, doesn't it?
It always goes so well. And then everyone's frustrated and, anyway.
Yes. And thank goodness for those moments, because then we learn, oh, right, I still haven't done my own work and I'm not clear. And I think that's what's so important about going back to the creative process. Yeah. When we remember that life is process, life is the creative process. It's not about just getting to that goal. And for me, this was so important as an ambitious perfectionist, highly driven woman, to realize I could land at that goal, but if I didn't bring all of myself to me, it felt really empty. And so remembering that there's also the after process, right? Like there's the afterbirth. And that was something that I didn't learn for a really long time too. And I was continually getting depleted. I was outputting beautifully, really successful. My dance company's touring and I'm miserable after every show. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And I was forgetting that there's this whole process that comes after. The learning after the creation is so important. And remembering that, okay, I need to take all that I learned into the next process. It's not about stopping at this creation. It's about what did I learn and how do I take that and what do I want to tweak for the next time and how do I continue to help myself and support myself to the next creation.
Powerful. Powerful.
Yes.
I'm just speechless. I'm just listening and I agree. And I feel like I love how you model that, because I feel like in being able to witness, some of your evolution, like and not that it's bad, but a lot of times at the very, very start of our business, I know for me, we're feeling paralyzed. We need business strategy and it's hard for us to even get in alignment with what we need. But I feel like you have done so beautifully at like your business strategy. I feel like comes out of your alignment, right? Because there's no one right way to do things, because you at the center just are in general really grounded and in tune with who you are and where you're going. Like your business strategy has kind of just come as an after product of that.
It really has, but I think it was also, working with you as my mentor on this, because I would begin to create from what felt good and right for me, and then go into comparison or see another woman and, and it was really being able to say to you like, well, I don't know what my strategy is. And you being able to go, you do, because you're doing it.
Yeah. Also, when you went on Facebook Live and talked about your program, that counts.
Yes. And so I think it's so important to have, I really so firmly believe in having mentorship and people who are showing you the way, because when we come just from the inside, there's no way to not be completely unstoried. And so, my stories around Elisha's always rogue, and she's, the creator in the corner, acting the mad scientist. And those are really beautiful parts of myself that I love. And there's a little bit of shame around that I haven't fit in so well to mainstream society, or that I do things my own way and can't ever just get in line properly, right? And so those aspects where I've taken on the cultural shaming, and so then that comes up in my business where it becomes a question of, can I hold my own center? And having a mentor, having, the mastermind groups or your partners that say to you, you are so on point, hold your center. Hold your center, lady. Don't get out of that, because that's your genius. And I think it's so important that we really support each other in finding our own paths and not looking like each other and not doing it our own way. And, even the mentorship, sometimes I think I come into question around my languaging of things, because what I would say to Sarah, if I meet Sarah in her essence and in her beauty and in her gifts, is so different than what I'm going to say to Jill. And so I find sometimes that I entangle myself in that question of like, what can I do? And then I go back to my mentor and she's like, no, say it for Sarah and Jill will hear what she needs to hear. And that's your strategy.
So good. I love that.
So just continuing to find yourself in the process, I think, is so important. And I find that what I've loved is how my business journey has mirrored the deep self-work that I teach. Because all of those places where I talk about how we find excuses to not go deeper into our heart. And it's been the same for me in my business process, where I would let the fact I don't have a really great website, or I don't really understand this, or I haven't bought this thing, and sort of being able to go, oh, those are just the excuses, because it's easier to stay small right now than it is to expand myself and trust myself. And, so I think that whatever journey we're on, it all mirrors the deep self-work that we can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if someone's watching you and they're like, oh my gosh, how do I create a business in that way, right? Where I am, developing in my personal life, developing in my business. Take us back to the very beginning when you first started your business, or you first made income on your own. How did you connect with your very first client?
So I was laying in bed. And I was like, okay, I just finished a coaching certification, not because I was going to coach or anything. I was just doing it for myself, right? So I'm laying in bed and I'm like, what if I gave myself permission to start a program? And so it's like midnight and I just got out of bed. I went to my computer and I wrote basically my first newsletter, what was just an email to everyone I knew in town. All the ladies I'd connected with, my friends, acquaintances, Sarah who runs the coffee shop. I just wrote everyone and was like, I'm starting a group program. And I made it up on the spot. And I stayed out of my head. I totally connected to my heart and was like, what do I want? I want to try working with women on creating a more thriving system for living. And I just let it flow. And I go back and read it and there's some really beautiful moments and words in there. And then there's other things I'm like, oh, I wouldn't say that now. And it was totally perfect for the moment. And I totally undersold it in terms of price. And that was absolutely fine because I wanted it to not be costly on myself energetically until I really believed. And we got into it. And then I upped it and I sold it as VIP so people could add on one-on-ones. And I ran that program for 3 quarters as a live program in my area. And it gave me the confidence to really realize, like, I know what I'm doing and I'm still learning. And those things are perfect. And I just need to keep going. Yeah.
So many lessons in that, right? That like brave, and I was just talking about this with someone yesterday, that almost like that innocent, naive, like, I'm going to just create, right? And I'm just going to trust that it's going to be this many sessions and this much money. And I know people are going to be changed by this program.
Yeah. And I think that's such a perfect place to begin from. So one of the things one of my main mantras is I begin before I'm ready to begin. Because for me, that's really how I learn. I learn by doing and I learn by creating and then not being overly attached to the creation. So one of the great things about being a dancer is dance is ephemeral. It's like not tangible. And so I've gotten really great at creating and letting go and creating and letting go. And so that's how I created this program. I was like, I'll try it. If it goes south, then I won't do that again. And I'm going to know a lot more if I try than if I sit back and think about it and try and get all my ducks in a row when I don't even know which ducks I actually need.
Yeah.
And so I think that by learning, I start remembering and engaging and trusting myself to go like, oh, that's a duck I want, and that's a duck I want, and that's a duck I want. And so the next time I began, I'm like, oh, and look, I've got some ducks in a row, and let's go again, for round 2. And then it's like each time you get like a few more ducks. You're like, oh, look. And then you're like, and now I'm going to paint all my ducks pink. And so, then, you pivot somewhere and you go, okay, now we're working with pink ducks. And so I don't need that one. It becomes about the playfulness of creation and allowing ourselves to give all the permissions to be both the creator and also, when it's necessary, the destroyer of our own work, right? Like being able to let it go and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's not what feels in alignment. And I've grown so much, I don't have to keep saying that same thing anymore.
Yes. Powerful. So as we wrap up, if someone's watching this interview and they are just resonating with you strongly and they don't know why, maybe they're just like, you know what, something you said really sparked something, or they're just feeling drawn, how can they get to know you better in your Facebook group? And then also, what are some of the services that you offer?
Yeah. I love my Facebook group. So I run the Radiant Tribe, and it is an online sister circle. So it's about daily inspiration on living this work, on living from a place of openness in our heart and engaging with ourselves. And so I post in there almost every day, do lots of live streams, and it's also a year's worth of content. It's been the best training ground for me. So it's really like a membership vault at this point. There are lives on everything I could think of. And so there's that. That's a great way to connect. And I love meeting women that way. And I have a website, it's ElishaHalpin.com, ever in process, always unfolding. And I'm also getting ready to open my group program, which is the Radiant Temple. And this is really around living in cycle, living with the cycle of the moon. And so learning to rest, learning to produce and pull the trigger, learning to let go. So we really go through the full cycles. And so we just attach it to the moon as the way, as remembering she, like us, is different every day, and yet her essence is the same. And so I really love that work. And so I have that program. And then also I work one-on-one with women, and I'm really working a lot with women one-on-one right now around the heroine's mystical journey work, which is about the heroine's journey of going into herself, deep dives into the heart, and combining that with my neurosculpting work. So really working the ability to rewrite the stories and rewire it fully in our neurological system, so that what we're living out is coming from the deepest place, and we're not having to struggle in depletion to hold our own energy and to really hold the identity and stories in the world that we want to, making sure they're really connected deeply. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Thank you. I will post all the links that you mentioned in the show notes below, but I just want to thank you for being here, for sharing your heart just so authentically and vulnerably and courageously with us today.
Well, thank you for what you've created, which gives women like me the opportunity to begin and to find really true, just amazing heart-centered mentorship. That the gift that you've given me time and time and time again is the greater permission to just be myself, do it my way, and keep my eyes in my own creation lane. And so I'm extremely grateful for that.
You are most welcome. It is an honor.
Thank you.